So today I woke up sick. And thankfully my husband went to get me wonton soup, which is definitely going to help. I've been drinking a lot of lemon honey tea or lemon preserve with hot water. That's been helping a lot. But I want to show you some things that I do for myself when I'm sick. I'll show you 2 different soups and the tea that I'm drinking.
I'm making a quick and easy wonton soup. I'm going to be using 64 ounces of store-bought chicken broth. That's 8 cups. I'm also adding 4 cups of water. I will also be adding around 4 to 5 stems, the whites of scallions, 1 clove of garlic that I lightly mashed, and I'm adding a teaspoon of soy sauce, a teaspoon and a half of Shaoxing cooking wine, a teaspoon of sugar. I'm adding salt to taste. Basically, I started with a teaspoon and a half, and I'm adding a teaspoon of sesame oil. Give that a mix, bring to a simmer, and let it simmer gently for about 30 minutes. For the wonton fillings, I'll be using around 6.5 ounces of pork and 2 ounces of medium shrimp. I'm going to mince the pork and mince the shrimp. You could also do this in a food processor. To my mixture, I'm going to be adding a teaspoon of Shaoxing cooking wine, a half teaspoon of sesame oil, 1 teaspoon of light soy sauce. I'm also going to be adding a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper and 1 clove of garlic that I grated and a little bit of ginger paste. Here I also have a finely chopped scallion, and I'll be adding 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And then I'm just going to give it a really good mix. And this is what's going to fill my wontons. Here I have thawed store-bought wonton wrappers, and to the center I'm adding around a teaspoon of the mixture. I'm going to lightly dampen the edges. I'm just going to press together. It creates a triangular shape. This is very easy to do. This is for my novice wonton wrapping cooks that want to try this. Now, this is actually another easy way that I like to do it because I am not a professional. I wet the edges again, and this time I sort of fold and collect it all at the top. Just kind of bunch it up, mash together, and this gives you that purse-shaped wonton. This is actually how I like to do it. It's easy and it reminds me of the restaurant style ones. So you'll get about 25 to 30 wonton dumplings to go into your soup. So my broth is ready. I've removed the scallion whites and the clove of garlic. So I'm just going to keep that on very low heat. And I'm also going to be using baby bok choy. I took just 1 bunch of baby bok choy and I blanched it. I added it to boiling water for about 45 seconds and then shocked it in cold water and gave it a rough chop. So to cook the wonton dumplings, I'm going to add it to boiling water. There's 2 ways that you could do this. I like to boil my wontons in boiling water, then remove them. And once I remove them from the boiling water, you'll see that it takes about 4 to 5 minutes to cook. They'll float to the surface. You want to shock them in cold water. This really does keep the dumpling wrapper or the wonton wrapper. It gives it a nice chewy bite. And you serve it individually in the bowls. I added some of the baby bok choy and you ladle over the hot broth. Now, if you know you're going to serve this for dinner and everyone's eating at the same time, you could cook the wonton dumplings in this soup. That also works. But this is very comforting when you have a cold or you just want wonton, and you can garnish how you like. You can add more white pepper, scallions. It's so good. This is the vegetable part with the chicken. This is going to be my caldo de pollo. I'm also going to add some salt and seasonings to it, but we'll get to that. But let me get things started. Okay. Here I have a 6.9, I believe, at least a 6-quart pot, but I think this is at 6.9. I can't flip it over to show you, but I have around 3 3/4 quart. Does that make sense? Basically, it's over 3.5 quarts. It's somewhere between 3.5 to 4 quarts of water in my pot. I'm going to add my 2.5 pounds of chicken right in. Try not to scrape the pot and make a big mess. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna turn on the heat. Okay, so I have my heat source to about medium-high heat, and I want to bring my water up to a gentle boil. By the way, before I forget, I am going to add some dried bay leaves. I have 2. Well, this is like 1.5, but 2 works. And that'll just, again, that's something that will add aromatic flavor to your broth. However you like to season and what you like to add, it's up to you guys. I'm going to be bold as to say that there is no one way to make caldo de pollo. Everyone makes it differently. I typically like to just, you know, add what I have in my fridge and run with that. Okay, so while my chicken is gonna gently simmer and cook for about 25 to 30 minutes, it's gonna get a head start. I wanna go over some things. So for example, the cabbage, I know some people like a firmer texture to their cabbage. I do not. I like mushy cabbage in my caldo. So, you know, when I add it, you may want to add it a little later in the cooking process. I'm actually going to do this sort of like my grandma style. So once the chicken has a chance to kind of boil and cook for about 30 minutes, I'm adding everything all together. And if it's mushy, it's mushy. And if it's not, it's not. Okay, so also, let's see here. Now, this chayote squash, it's a variation of squash. So I want to show you with the chayote, I just kind of cut it in these long chunks. You can cut it how you like. And I sort of cut around the seed that's in the center. So it's kind of like that. And then like that. And then see the seed right here? So I'm just going to flip that over and cut the center out. And that's it. So I'm gonna do that. And the same thing with my, you know, this squash. I mean, this is not gonna, just because it's kind of discolored and it doesn't look pretty, it's not gonna hurt anything. Just cut off the end. And I'm gonna cut my, this squash into large chunks, just like that. And actually, since this is the bigger part, I'll cut it in half and then just big chunk. I find that if you cut it into large chunks, it just holds its shape better as it cooks with everything. Okay, so now I have my pot of water and chicken up to a rolling boil. I'm going to turn it down. I don't want it to rage out of control. And I'm not even going to cover it at this point because right now I want to skim off a lot of what's floating onto the surface here. It has been about 25 minutes. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in my celery, my half of my chopped onion, and I forgot, I have about 6 to 7 cloves of garlic that I just sort of mashed. It's going in. That's going to start building flavor. So here's what I'm using today. I'm going to use a tablespoon of this. This is my chicken flavor bouillon powder. I'm going to do 1 tablespoon, just like that. I'm going to start with a teaspoon of salt. I may add salt later. And some cracked black pepper going in. I like a lot of pepper. Go ahead and give that a mix. Now I'm just going to add all of my veggies. You can do these in stages, like the potatoes and carrots first, boil for about 10 minutes, and then add the rest of the stuff. That's if you're a stickler for, you know, things not being mushy and texture, you know. But I'm adding potatoes, carrots. I'm just going to add it all and let it continue cooking for about another 30 minutes, and it'll be done. Add that right on top. Now, the only other thing I think I would add that I don't have is corn on the cob. I don't have that. So you definitely want to add corn on the cob. That'll really complete my childhood caldo de pollo experience, but I don't have any, so this is going to do. So I'm going to bring this back up to a gentle simmer. I'm going to let it cook until all the vegetables are tender. The chicken at this point is almost cooked through anyways. the broth is going to develop a lot more flavor. So maybe another 35 to 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. I don't know. I'll let you know when it's done. Okay, you know what? I think I am going to add some tomato puree. I have a jar of tomato puree. I'm just going to add maybe like 1/4 cup to this. I feel like I want a tomatoey caldo today. I'm going to give that a mix. Now, fresh tomato also works. If you have some fresh Roma tomatoes, add that to your broth, but I just really want a flavorful broth today. Okay, so once everything is cooked through, your vegetables have reached your desired doneness, they're tender, they're cooked, your caldo is ready. Towards the last 5 to 10 minutes, you'll want to taste it for things like seasoning and salt, and add salt to taste towards the end. But this is seasoned perfect for me, so I'm ready to eat. So now I'm just going to serve myself a bowl in my favorite bowl. How many of you have this bowl in your home? Oh, my chicken leg. And I love the mushy cabbage. That also, the chicken and the cabbage by itself is just, that's what I like. So I just have to dig in. How many of you do this? Lime and salt on your corn tortilla and you dip it into the soup. This is where it's at for me. Oh. So here I have my washed grapefruit. I have 2 to use. I also have my peeled ginger pieces, my ginger root. This is fresh. And as you notice, I have some lemons that definitely need to be used. And I'm going to use them to preserve them in this honey mixture for tea. And I also have my fresh, actually this is spearmint, but fresh mint works. And even if you have dried mint, I actually grow a bunch of this and I like to dry it on baking sheets and store it dried. So if you've got it, use it. So let's put this together. I'm going to start with my grapefruit and I'm just going to cut it into slices. You can use any citrus that you have. Grapefruit, oranges, lemon. If all you have is lime, then you definitely can use that. So there's my grapefruit. I'm going to place it in a bowl on the side here. Okay, so here are all my leaves. Now I'm going to take a clean glass jar and I'm going to start filling this in layers. You could mix it all together, but I'm going to do grapefruit, and my hands are clean. Now I'm going to take my leaves and just let them kind of fall. I think that looks really pretty, and I might need more leaves, but take a look at that. Look how pretty that looks. And I have several types of local honey that I keep in jars. Let me open this one. I think I'm going to use this one first. This is just a Texas honey. Use what you have at home, and I'm just going to pour the honey right in there. This is perfect. As you can see, as I press and pack in the grapefruit with the honey, it creates this really sweet, citrusy, minty liquid, and this is what's perfect for hot teas. So you want to make sure that you fit everything in here, and that's it. Now I'm going to work on my lemon ginger preserve. As you can see, this lemon is a little dry, but that's okay. I have 2 lemons that needed to be used, and I'm going to use them. So now that all of my preserves are done, I'm just going to store them, and with the extra, I'm going to make a grapefruit mint hot tea with honey. And again, these do have health benefits, and they may soothe some of your ailments when you have a common cold, congestion, or just need something hot and comforting. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.